That must be a good luck charm.
It would send me in circles for a week.
It just told me we're being live streamed.
Yes, I was just going to say the same thing.
Okay, we're in circles. We good to go?
Almost, we gotta get back to the meeting and get recording that on Zoom. Where'd they all go? Got it. Now I pause the recording. We're in business. I've lost my minute.
You can't have it all.
Can't have everything. Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting of the South Thompson Select Board to order at 6:03. Oh, not bad, guys. I'm chairing tonight. Jeff is unable to attend in person. He is with us on via Zoom. But I'm chairing tonight because it's difficult to chair over Zoom. So if you would all stand and join.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adjustments to the agenda. I'd like to add the executive session that was tabled from last night's meeting. And I have another note here. Oh, I wanted to briefly talk about the damaged owl. And there was one other thing, Terry, that I asked you to remind me.
Extension of Don Prothero's use of the stump dumper.
Right. Don Prothero.
I would like to add a donation from the People's Methodist Church to the ambulance service.
Okay. And Jeff, do you have anything to add, adjustments?
No, I think that's got it. All the stuff from last time that we delayed is in this one, I think.
Yeah, although we did, last night we tabled the, discussion regarding employee evaluation, not to tonight, but to another time to be determined.
Perfect.
Just thinking that this meeting would be too long with both of those. Sue, anything you want to add? Okay. Review and approval of prior meeting minutes of the 14th. That meeting was canceled, correct?
No, the 28th was canceled.
The 28th was canceled. Okay, so, oh, okay, that's right, Jeff. And so I said the 14th earlier, so I meant the 28th.
Anyway,
So is there a motion regarding the minutes of November 14th?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes for the meeting of November 14th.
Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jeff, I.
Oh, yeah, I got a roll call, sorry. So, update on building use form. Terry provided us with a draft of a form from MMA, which also includes a policy in it. It's a form and a policy. And then we got another one from another town, which I believe is also a form and a policy. And then I took a stab at drafting a policy, which would basically turn into a policy and form, at least in my mind. And I took, I'll take the liberty to just review what I did quickly. I basically, don't come in.
yeah, I'm good.
I basically, started out with, definitions, and I took pains and quite a bit of difficulty to, differentiate between an outside group and a town group, which may or may not be the best names for that. And I also made it clear, at least in my mind, that it only applied to this building and the Gilbert Butler building, not to the salt shed or other places. We talked about scheduling, the facility use form. And I also talked about prohibited uses, and that got dicey and difficult for me. I'd like to come back to that. And at this point, I was proposing that we be pretty liberal about fees and deposits and insurance, but I wanted to get your folks' feedback. In my original draft, the only fee that I was proposing that we charge would be if it was a private for-profit business, and everybody else would be feeless, which is not to be confused with security deposit lists or charge for extra services, if there are charges for extra services. And I also made it clear, or at least I hope to, I guess the second thing is, if an outside group was charging a fee for the event, then I thought maybe that we should also be charged a fee. If they're making money on that, then maybe we should. I don't know the answer to that. I do think we should, in some cases, require a refundable deposit. We've had damage before to tables and things of that nature. I don't know if you've run into that at Gilbert Butler yet, but we have had that here. I also made it clear that we'll accept donations for use. I didn't know how to deal with insurance. I only, under the way I have it drafted, the only two entities that have to provide insurance would be a for-profit group, business for-profit group, which is defined in the definitions, and a non-profit group that has insurance. I mean, if they have it, we might as well ask them to provide it to us because it's a level of protection. But if they don't have it, this doesn't contemplate asking them to get it. But I saw in the MMA proposed form that there is a clause in there that any group, outside group that uses it, agreed to indemnify the town. And I don't know if we should maybe put that in ours as well. My suspicion is yes, although I think without insurance, it's probably somewhat of a hollow gesture, unless someone's very rich. Alcohol, I wasn't sure how to deal with, and what folks want to do there. I noticed the MMA form had no smoking and vaping. That, I think, to me is a given. We should include that. I just overlooked that. I forgot about it. I made a provision for emergencies where basically it can be canceled if there's an emergency by either the town administrator or the library and community center director if it's at Gilbert Butler, or the fire department or ambulance if it's related to that. I put in here that policies exceptions could be granted by the select board. I'm a little uncomfortable with that, but they all seem to come up. I also put in that if anybody has a lease agreement, that the terms of that lease agreement would supersede this policy if they conflict. And I put in a sort of a sample non-discrimination clause. I noticed in the MMA policy, it said that all meetings had to be open to the public, but I question whether we want to do that, because if a private for-profit business is renting it for a fee, I wouldn't want it to be open to the public.
Well, not like that, but if somebody was having, like, listed on theirs, a personal gathering,
Right,
you don't have
You
that
don't
open
want
to
to-
the public.
right.
Oh, come on into the baby shower.
Yeah. So I left that out. And, I had a couple other thoughts. I do think that, well, we just talked about participants must be admitted free of well, not, there's also a clause free of charge. I don't know that I agree with that. I do like the idea that nothing may be attached to the walls, ceilings, or the furniture.
Which one is that on?
This is on the, I think it's the MMA one, and they don't
Okay,
define,
yeah.
but I believe it is. I like the sentence that the group using it shall leave it neat and orderly in the same condition they found it. I think those probably should be added. So what I really struggled with though is, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, is how to deal with and define what, well, first of all, do we want to allow political meetings? Either meetings in support of candidates or more likely in support of causes. And for example, would we have allowed a meeting of the lobstermen that were planning the, I mean, that's a political cause, there's no question about it. But but the problem is, in my mind, is where does that stop? Do we allow the Proud Boys to have a meeting there? Family planning, is that gonna upset some people? I mean, it gets, in my mind, messy. So I sort of, for lack of a better word, in my draft, I prohibit those with the exception of state authorized political caucuses that typically have been for 100 years in town halls and other places. It's a state sanctioned process. But then it becomes very difficult to define what is a political. You know, I think that needs some discussion and some work. Or do we just want to throw it open and let anybody who wants to use it, use it? Sort of under the, you know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, and it gets dicey. So thoughts? Any, Jeff, Sue?
I mean, I think if you let some political people do it, you have to let them all, or you'd be discriminating.
I tend to agree.
You know, whether it's somebody you agree with or not.
Right.
And there are absolutely some we don't want to,
Right.
because it implies a sanctioning. So I would lean towards none rather than some. But how you draw the line is.
Well, if that's the thought, I'll try to work on drawing that line with a little more effort, but I didn't want to put a lot of effort into it if you got, because it gets tricky.
It does, yeah.
So would you exclude the lobstermen?
Well, that's kind of the question. If it was a political,
They're part of our community.
well, lots of people are. The Proud Boys could be part of it.
They could be.
I mean, you know, I don't think that's the difference. That's why it's tricky, you know, it's hard to. I guess in my opinion, yes, you would have to if you were gonna ban them all. I don't know what you guys think, but. I mean, if they're specifically meeting for a political purpose to, you know,
But would the political purpose be for them to support a certain candidate, or would it be for them to try to fight against windmills or against?
yeah, I mean,
Right,
that's definitely a political purpose, if you're fighting against windmills. I mean, fighting against the regulations regarding the right whales, I mean, that's a political issue, it doesn't have to be a candidate. You know, would you allow groups that were, say, against the CMP corridor?
Same type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a political issue.
There was literature left there at the library in that,
For that,
for that
Yeah,
specific purpose. We have had, traditionally had caucuses.
yeah, I think caucuses are different though. Because they're sanctioned by the state. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion, but And you gotta be a registered political party in the state to hold the caucus.
Right.
There's only 3, maybe 2 now. I don't know if the Greens lost their registration or not. But Penny, I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say too about this, because it's tough, and I think it's gonna affect Guilford Butler more than it affects here.
I agree.
There are other ways to discourage undesirable meetings.
And what is undesirable meeting?
The director,
Oh, boy. I think that's
I know,
that's a tough one to put without having a, I mean, you're gonna let, I don't know.
It seems like it would end up, if it's not spelled out, it would end up possibly getting you into hot water of discrimination
Yeah,
for your own personal
I mean, I remember
biases.
one of the many reasons, there were several, that we did away with donations on the town meeting warrant was there were some people that were offended that the town was donating money to family planning because of the abortion issue.
Mhm.
And of course, the biggest issue was that it took 4 hours in every town meeting. But,
but that was everybody's one, it wasn't.
right. Yeah, but it's a similar, you know, to, some people would think, oh, who would be against that?
Right,
And people would say, well, I am.
Right.
You know? I mean, I think some people feel that way about windmills, you know, who could be possibly against windmills? I mean, you know, clean energy and blah, blah, blah.
a lot of people are.
Oh, I know, but a lot of people would say, who could possibly be?
Right.
I mean, you know. So, you wanna work towards banning them all?
Yeah, I think it's a slippery slope and if you didn't have a policy, then the director's opinion on what you can and can't do is kind of okay. But once you write a policy, now you've got to rely on it. So we've got to have something that
Yeah,
at least attempts to distinguish between a political and a non-political purpose.
yeah, I agree. I think clearly a baby shower is a non-political purpose, but.
And I can make an argument that for some meetings for local lobstermen, that it could be for a non-political purpose, but
Yes,
and so I think it's in how you define the purpose of the meeting. So it
I
would,
agree, I agree. I think you could have a meeting of the same organization, and one meeting could be for a political purpose, and one meeting could be for a social event, and they're clearly.
exactly.
So it isn't the organization, I agree with you, it's the purpose of the meeting.
Yep.
So, did you have thoughts on any of the other stuff?
I guess I would ask the select board to make the decisions about these rather than me then.
On the political purpose?
Because I think it's a slippery slope from, you know, the lobstermen getting together and, because they're gonna talk about the right whale, they're gonna talk about,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
that it's just part of it. And most of the causes that they have to get together and talk about are going to be these political.
Right,
Yeah, and there may be other groups that are
Which, you
similar. Yeah,
know, wind farming offshore.
are there other groups that have, well, first of all, have the lobstermen asked to use it for meetings? Yeah,
The
so,
co-op was going to, but then ended up coming here,
yeah,
But that
Well-
was, they were talking about their renovations.
yeah.
They weren't talking.
yeah, and
was-
that would
wasn't
not be a
political.
political.
yeah, I
right?
think that, from what I understand anyway, some of those meetings seem more regional than they are local.
And they're always looking for venues.
Yeah,
Um, So,
but none of our venues are that large either.
Nope.
So
Right.
that kind
Yeah.
of puts a lot of things out if you're expecting a large group.
I have no trouble with the selectmen being bumped up to make that determination. As Walter used to say, the more fingerprints on the crime, the better. But the problem with that is, it can be timing. You know, like, oh, the selectman doesn't meet, the select board doesn't meet for 3 weeks.
Right.
Oh, we want to meet tomorrow.
Well, first of all, we haven't had any instances of a political or a meeting even asked to happen, but people that are asking are certainly coming forward in 2 to 3 weeks, to a month, to 2 months, to 6 months ahead of time.
Okay,
And I think it's easy to say, oh, you want to meet tomorrow, sorry, no's booked, you know.
Right.
yeah,
There's so much going on now, there's limited opportunities to.
right.
For them to pick a day, and
Right.
we need to say yes.
Well, and were you okay with how I sort of prioritized?
I'm not comfortable with gathering fees from anyone.
Even for profits,
Yeah, I mean, they're part of the community too. I mean,
maybe.
I don't support them being able to charge people to attend.
But would most for-profits, if they're holding something, be charging? No?
No. I mean, Jeff, didn't your son's business hold a meeting there of their employees or something like
It's
that?
daughter.
Or
Yeah, Rock City, but it was for the employees. It was an employee kind of meeting. So there was no fee there were no customers nor fees to them.
Why wasn't it open to the public?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with not charging a fee to anyone, to be honest with you. I mean, I like the more active and the more it's used. Personally, I like that, but I just thought some folks would have trouble with us providing a meeting space for a for-profit business. When, you know,
I'm sure.
why are we doing that, you know? But,
Well, I just hate to exclude any part of the community.
no, like I said, I'm not opposed to that. I just thought some people would be unhappy with that, or could be unhappy with that, but. How do you guys feel? I mean, if we don't charge any fees, that's fine with me, but.
Yeah, and the only time I would think that you would want to charge a fee is if, other than some kind of a security or cleaning deposit, it is if they are using the venue to charge a fee to the customer. If they're using the venue to provide a $4 service, or they're selling something, or then I would think that then we should charge a fee for them. They should be charged a fee. Does that make
Actually,
sense?
that brings up a whole other issue though. Cause people do use, I mean, I don't know if they do it inside, but they use the outside to sell wares, right?
We have a flea market.
Right, and other things too, right? Isn't there a craft day or something?
Yeah, but
Well,
that's organized,
And
that's all organized by the library
Yeah.
essentially as a fundraiser for the library, right?
right.
Right, but there's people actually making
They are,
profit,
And they pay table fees. to
Right.
use
And they
it.
do pay a table fee.
so there is a fee. And that-
Sometimes it's just a community lawn sale, and then anyone that shows up with
Right.
their stuff can.
So they can, that would be considered a for-profit entity, and they're making money and not, yeah. I mean, I don't have, I mean, you know, you think about farmers markets all around the country, they're usually held in public places and
And we have a book sale going on.
typically they're not, yeah, but isn't that the library?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a town group or town activity, the library, so that wouldn't be an issue, so. Well, I'm, based on what I've heard, I'm willing to take this back and try to take a second stab at it. And circulate it out to everybody. I'll try to make it shorter. But it gets hard. So are we good then? I've heard quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
I think the only thing that you had a question on was the alcohol. that we didn't
Oh,
address.
yeah,
I, um,
I'm
I
reluctant
think
to,
yeah, I think it should say something like, no alcohol to be served unless specifically approved by the select board. Because I can think of, bridal showers or those, those kind of things where you might want to serve, alcohol where you're not really serving a lot of alcohol. You know what I mean? And I don't mind putting it back on the select board to make that distinguishment.
how do you feel about that?
I like that idea.
Okay,
That's what happened to the historical society. They got it to the board and the board said yes. As long as it was within the building and not on the lawn.
and if it was catered, they'd have to get a license anyways from us.
Correct. Yep.
If it was just someone that brought it in, you couldn't sell it.
Right.
You'd have to just give it away. Unless it was catered, then the caterer could sell it.
Right, they can charge.
Okay. Well, and if something becomes a problem, we can always go back and modify it.
Yep.
I mean, if someone all of a sudden decides they want to use every Friday night for a party down there and cater it, and the caterer stops. Whoa, wait a minute. Which probably is not gonna happen. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Yes, thank you.
Execute contract between the town of South Palmerston and Sundog Solar. This has been kicked around quite a bit. You guys saw the emails.
Right here.
I'm ready to go if you guys are.
I am.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we execute the contract between South Palmerston and Sundog Solar.
Is there a second?
Second, I do have one question. How do we currently have it? Administrator, chair, all three of us to sign it? Is it already?
It just says by town of South Palmerston on the signature line.
So,
Well, could you amend your motion to authorize Terry or authorize the chair? Or do you want to sign it or you want to authorize Terry to sign it?
Terry, if she wouldn't mind. Only because I don't know when I'm gonna get over there.
You mind amending your motion to?
No, so I make a motion that we accept the contract from Sundog Solar and South Palmerston and authorize Terry Baines, town administrator, to sign the contract.
Is there a second?
Yes.
I have a question and actually two questions. My understanding, we already have the money.
Yes,
Oh,
They're,
really?
they're the best grandparents I've ever seen. And I just want to ask you, is there anything new since the last meeting that would change, we should be aware of that might change our mind on this?
No, I don't think so. The only other thing was that Carla had,
The credit, but that doesn't impact
no,
this, right? I mean, it'd be not great to get it, but, okay, given that, is there further discussion? All those in favor,
Jeff, I.
Sue,
Sue, I.
John, I. Okay. Discussion on ATV, how to enforce prohibiting ATVs on town properties, the former Klein and Smith property. At the last meeting, I said I would talk to MMA. I did talk to them. Their legal department, she felt that basically the Board of Selectmen, under their ability to control town property, could prohibit certain uses, including prohibiting ATVs. But she also pointed out that the Board of Selectmen, absent an ordinance, couldn't really put much teeth into it. They couldn't fine anyone or bring a complaint and court because there's no ordinance, you might be able to get away with a trespass, which is a little different than ATVs, and then the argument would be, well, other people are trespassing.
Right.
So she highly recommended that we bring an ordinance, plus she thought politically it would be a lot better if the town voted on an ordinance. And I guess the only downside I see to that is if we vote on an ordinance and it gets voted down, how do we deal with that? And if that's because the Smith requires us to, so we might want to have two ordinances on there, and depending on where we want to ban it from. Because if you think about it right now, it's not allowed on the Smith property. It's not prohibited on the Klein property, but I think that was clearly the intent. And it was in the article when we bought the property, or at least I believe it was for, and then of course, there's some discussion about whether or not we should ban them or limit them on the existing town property, which was the subject of the discussion last night. And nobody showed up except for 4 members of the Conservation Commission who are in favor of, my sense was, are in favor of banning it outright for a number of reasons. On the existing town property. And so that's kind of where we are with MMA. And also on we did send out that letter to 90 something, 94
Something
registered
like that.
owners in St. George, South Thomaston. And Al said, I did not receive one email, one phone call, or no one stopped me on the street, including the 4 ATVs that I saw yesterday out back. So it didn't feel like there was a lot of pushback against, or a lot of interest in the subject, I guess is the word. But maybe that's just because, I don't know why. But, so I think the decision that we need to make as a board is, we need to, as we move towards town meeting, we need to think about what we want to include on the warrant. Do we want to include an ordinance for at least the Smith property and probably the Klein property? Do we want to include an ordinance that bans them everywhere? There was quite a bit of discussion last night how it would be a lot easier if it was banned, easier to enforce if it was banned on all the properties. Because once, and I think that was Sue's point, once someone's out back, how do you tell where they're going and where they
Right,
are?
where the line is.
Yeah,
What's
or
town,
even where
what's
the
Smith.
town, where
Right.
the lines are. I don't think we're gonna solve this tonight, but that's kind of the lay of the land as of now, I think. I will add one personal observation. I've been out there a lot, including this morning, because I saw 4 ATVs go out there yesterday on the worst day of the year you could possibly have gone out there. So I went out this morning and I was pleasantly surprised. They didn't, or were unable to make it any worse, which was good news. Or at least in the section I walked, which was a good mile. So, I mean, not a mile, a good quarter of a mile. I have walked it now all the way to the rear of the town property, to the lots that back up from St. George. And the first, when you go onto off the stump road onto the town woods road, the first, I don't know, 500 or 600 yards is really bad. I mean, really bad. And then it gets better. It goes uphill and it's much better. It's drier. There's more stone in the road, and it's pretty good for quite a ways. But Don Prethrow had told me that when you get out to the rear, it's going to get bad again, and he was right. Once you get within a quarter of a mile or 0.2 of a mile of the back lot, it's really bad and messed up. And there's one section where it's so bad, the ruts are so deep that the ATVs are actually filling the ruts with brush because they're having trouble. It's obvious they're having trouble getting the ATVs through that section. Plus, this morning, the silt that was running into that stream that crosses both the Woods Road and then crosses the Stumped Up Road and then comes out down by Snows, was just, I mean, it was the color of this manila pole. It was brown with silt from the disturbed land. So I was originally thinking maybe there's a way to, accommodate both the ATVs and others, and I'm sort of moving my personal philosophy on that or position, but so thoughts, comments? Sue, you were there last night. So-
Yeah. No, I just think it's gonna be really hard to do, one way or the other. I don't know how we're gonna enforce it, but we have to at least make the attempt with the Smith property
Right.
by posting that.
What about using physical impediments like down
Using what?
Physical.
logs and rocks and.
Oh, but they said last night that somebody had put out huge logs and rocks and they just go out there and pull them out of the way. Take
Yeah.
trucks out.
Smith had put out a couple of huge boulders back on the
Mhm.
Benner line, way down the south end, and those are pulled out. And then about halfway down the town Woods Road, a tree came down. I don't think somebody put it there,
Mhm.
but it must have been this big around. It was an old white pine. Huge tree, and it was just cut. I mean, so I think the difference with Don is he's out there a lot and it's close and he can probably hear
Mhm.
if someone's cutting. Plus he put about 7 or 8 logs across, so,
It's gonna be a little bit more work.
yeah. I do think though that this clearly is one of the main entrances right here. I mean, they just pull up and park and feel that, they have permission to do it, I guess. No one, to my knowledge, no one's ever said they could. No one's ever said they couldn't, but unless, I don't know, Jeff or Penny, are you aware of ever granting permission or no?
No, I don't remember ever giving permission to, but I don't think we ever prohibited it previously.
No, I agree.
So
I have been
Yeah,
out there seeing you.
You couldn't now.
Well, it depends how much snow there is. But the thing is, are you going to ban all motor vehicles on the Smith property, or are you going to allow the snowmobiles?
No, he said we could allow snowmobiles.
I know, but I think that's gonna be a problem too.
What, why?
Well, I think it's going to annoy the ATVers if the snowmobiles can gaily go on their way, where I think if you put up some kind of physical, even if maybe you would, but
The snowmobilers don't typically cause as much damage because the ground is frozen.
yeah,
Well,
I let snowmobilers in my back area all the time, no problem at all. But I don't like the ATVers going back. Big
I was
difference.
not. I thought the damage was limited, I really did, to that first section. But after walking all the way to the rear, it's bad. It's really bad, so. Anyway,
So
we need to, go ahead.
I think we should post right away. I think we should start posting as soon as we have the signs. And then we need to do an ordinance that number one gives the select board authority to prohibit ATVs and identify those areas that we've already prohibited it.
Well, we also need to indicate what the penalties are gonna be and who has the authority to enforce it. And my fear is if we don't have a town employee with that authority, it's not gonna get enforced well. I mean, you can put in a law enforcement officer, but that it's not gonna be a priority with the the state police or. There was a state agency though, and maybe Catherine can remind me of the name that said that they were agents, IFNW.
Right, inland fishery and wildlife.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they get paid to do is enforce landowner posted properties.
Yeah,
Because it goes to preserving private property for recreational uses. So they don't want to abuse anybody's personal property. So they enforce it regularly. Matter of fact, there's a recent one in Thomaston where there's some issues with it. And Thomaston has even taken the step of outlawing hunting, which is extremely rare. Usually IFNW will not enforce other postings if you also don't allow hunting. So, but that's interesting. Side note.
Catherine, comment?
I would have to research again, but I had read in one of the forms, for grants, but also government, state of Maine agency somewhere that in small towns, actually, it's often the case that it's the chief of police. No, not the chief of police. The fire chief has the authority to implement such regulation. So I would have to go back and find where exactly that is. I was surprised, but yes, that was the fire chief of the town that had that authority to enforce,
Not the code enforcement officer.
I can see me driving the ATV out there. That's what
Just going to the ATV was fun, right?
All right, well, we'll work on this. I did also ask if she.
Excuse me, I had a hand up.
Hang on, I don't even know who's, it's Sonia.
I can't see
Okay,
her voice.
I didn't even know you were there. We can't see you.
Oh dear.
We
Well,
can't
there
see
I am.
hand either.
Yeah, can't see her.
No,
Well,
can't see her.
Um,
But anyway,
I just-
Sonia, if you would like to offer a comment, please do.
yeah, I just had a question.
Okay?
You license these ATVs, right? Does
Yes.
that mean that they have some kind of little license plate that's on their bikes?
Oh, they're registered.
Terry,
There has to be something.
Yeah, they have stickers on them.
like a boat
I'm just
sticker?
thinking, right. Well, to back up a little bit, the fact when you were talking about have you or have you not ever given permission, I think the fact that they go right by the office and in plain view do this and nobody's ever come out and said don't is implied permission that we have to reverse by saying we have a new rule now. But I'm thinking it might be possible if that you can photograph either the bike's sticker or the license plate on the truck they use to haul the ATVs in, that you can follow up with a fine if we had a process.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I took photos of the 3 trucks license plates yesterday. And
Yeah.
Terry can only research the ones that are registered in South Thomaston. That's not to say that someone else can't, but, and only one of them came up, which tells us that the other 2 were probably non-residents. But that's
the other,
go ahead.
yeah, the other part of that is that's like step 3. First, you got to let everybody know it's illegal. Number 2, you got to have who's going to enforce that ruling. And then you identify those who aren't enforcing it, and you have to figure out what you're going to do to them once you know who they are. So there are ways of figuring out who's doing it, but that's not where we're at. Right now, we're at post it so they know they can't do it. Write an ordinance that makes it clear and determines what the penalties are.
I completely agree. I'm just saying, because people were saying, well, how are we going to enforce it when you're at that stage? For example, these days, if you're speeding, they just send a ticket to the owner of the vehicle and say, this happened, we've got a record, and a fine is owed, somebody pay it. So, I mean, I was just saying, when we get down the road to that point, we don't have to be on the spot necessarily with a, you know, a warden or somebody with enforcement authority.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree. But I think, the ordinance is not gonna happen until June.
Right.
But we need to draft it, we need to decide what we want in it, and do we wanna ban it on all town property? I kinda hear we do. But if we wanna post it now under our selectmen's authority, which we can't impose fine, but we can, basically, if we see somebody, we can say, hey, you're trespassing, you gotta go, you can't have this out here. I think we need a motion to that effect.
I would make the motion that we post the property that we have already have town approval to prohibit ATVs on, and notify the warden service that we have posted that property as for no ATVs.
Well, is there a second?
I'll second that.
I'm a little confused. I thought you earlier wanted to post all the property.
No, initially, the only place we currently have the authority to post, in my mind, it is the property, the Smith property.
Well, that's not what the MMA attorney said. As I said earlier, she said, as we, as select board, can control the property. The problem is, well, two problems. One is, there's no way to fine anybody or punish them without an ordinance. And the second thing is that she thought it would be politically more acceptable if we had, you know, a town meeting vote behind us. So.
And I agree with that completely, which is why I am not in favor of posting land that the town has not given us authority to restrict.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood clearly.
I can agree with that.
Okay, so that means that people can still go out back here and go ATV in next spring
What? Why?
On the town
on
property.
town property. The original town parcel.
Oh, okay, yeah, because you got to go through it to get there.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that through. Yeah, I was thinking that the first sign that would go up would be right there behind Stump Dump Road, right there behind the stump dump. But that's not his property.
I would think it would be on four places. It would be on the Prothero town line, on the Ava Benner town line, on the Old Smith. Both of those are on the Old Smith property. And three places, I guess, and on the loop road, for lack of a better word, that comes that's way out, that comes back between the town road and the Stumptum Road, and somewhere out there is that line. I don't know where it is. I have Don Prethero thinks he knows where it is, so. I don't know, I guess my inclination, if we're gonna do it, would be just do it. And start getting people used to it,
On all of it.
on all of it, because this is the easiest place to control it.
Yeah. Okay.
Except, I mean, the backside, as you point out, I think a lot of people come in from the backside. Or potentially.
Yeah, I do too.
You're talking about posting the original town property.
All of it, yeah,
Without a town vote.
yes, which the attorney said we clearly have that authority to do. We can't fine anybody. Only as a practical matter, because I just think in forcing it, but I can live with your motion too. It's just gonna be difficult. We can always do a special town meeting. I mean, we didn't have a lot of interest last night, so.
True.
Do you think there should be an informational meeting with not just the ATVers, but, you know, the kind of people who we're going to ask at June town meeting to vote in, or whatever, special or June town meeting, we're going to be asking them to vote in favor of an ordinance banning them. And I think they need the same, hopefully not as in-depth as buying the property, but, a chance to hear what we propose and what kind of a change that will mean. And hear from them. Are we going to get pushback from anybody, or are there people in favor?
Well, I think we typically do that before town meeting, and it probably would be a article meeting, but
right.
that would be more like in May. And we also, remember last night, we sent out on the listserv,
They didn't show up.
We sent out on the listserv a letter a little different than the ATV owners got, and nobody came. I'm not sure there's a hell of a lot of interest in this.
It was on the website too.
Huh?
It was on the
It was
website
on the
too.
website, so, but I agree, Sonia, I do think that before town meeting, we would need to do that, but we typically do that every year. And it wouldn't be just a single item.
Okay.
Okay, so I will amend my motion to posting the Smith property and posting the entrance from Stump Dump. Well, no, right there at the entryway at where the gate is, the first gate. Post that no ATVs beyond this point.
But now you're talking about all the property.
I'm broadening where to post. Post specifically Smith's property, and also post no ATVs beyond this point at our entry right behind the building.
Okay, but not the rear line that butts up to the lots that come out to 131.
Correct.
So they could enter and come all the way up here to the gate and turn around and go back.
Right. But yeah, again, I'm doing this I still want to have town support for outlawing it on the rest of the town property. But in a practical matter, posting it, we almost have to put something right behind the town office that says no ATVs beyond this point. And I think we just use the authority MMA said we've already got, even though it doesn't have any teeth in it. And the follow-up would be to continue to push for town approval for the whole area. Does that make sense?
I can live with that. I mean, I could live with any of the three scenarios.
Even if it doesn't have any teeth in it right now, it will start getting people.
Riled up.
Yeah, riled up.
Well, that's a good thing.
But
That's a good
notifying
thing.
them that this is coming, that, an ordinance hopefully will come to follow. And
That's a good thing.
start letting them know that
If
they're
they
not
go around
supposed to be using it.
Then show up at a meeting
Right.
if you've got concerns.
Right.
Okay.
It might be better at getting their attention than sending out a letter proved to be.
Yep. Okay. Is there a
But
second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, is it good? So I don't have to walk all the way out to the.
Or someone's ATV is out there.
Further discussion, comments? All those in favor? Jeff,
I.
Sue, I.
John, I. Okay, we killed that one.
Yep.
Okay, moving along, discussion regarding tennis court repairs. I'm gonna try to keep this brief. I sent out that memo, about sort of amending our path forward. I think you all got an email, I should say. I did, the working group did meet last Thursday, and they wholeheartedly endorsed the plan. of, repaving and relining, the west tennis court, and putting acrylic on and relining it with 2 pickleball courts and 1 tennis court. That was unanimous and everybody was on board with that, and I'd like to go ahead with that because I need to get on Hager's list to pay that if we're gonna do it, and I need to get on it really now. We had a little bit more discussion on what to do with the east tennis court. I think the recommendation at this point was, from the group, is let's try to rehab it, and then what's meant by rehabbing it is, you know, tear it up, recompact it, repave it, re-acrylic it, and reline it, which is gonna be an expensive project, and apply for a grant next summer to hopefully get 50% of that, and then try to raise the 50% that we would need for that portion. And then there was quite a bit of discussion, and I would say there was no unanimity regarding putting on a pickleball court on the basketball court. And I would say, there were 4 of us there, I think, and it was probably maybe sort of 2-2.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 2 sort of in favor of that and 2 opposed, including myself. But the other problem with that is I need to, if we are gonna do that, we need to get permission from the feds, and Doug Beck has already indicated that that can take some time, and that he would recommend against it, so that may be a moot point. But basically, the proposal that Rich would like to see, he actually had 2, is to put an acrylic coating across in the middle, so people could kind of use the ends and still shoot hoops. And there'd be no acrylic on the end. Of course, that would cover the existing line where that's done. You'd have to redo the basketball lines. And put 1 pickleball court there, or take one end of the court and make that a pickleball court. And my problem with that was, and I told Rich, and Penny was there too, I think Penny sort of agreed with Rich, or
I do.
is I don't think we need 3 pickleball courts at this point. I think 2 is plenty. And I also feel like, you know, we just got this nice new basketball court, and if, you know, 3 little kids came out there the other day, and if there's 6 adults out there playing pickleball, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna walk away. I mean, and, you know, and I just, so, but we don't need to make that decision tonight. Think about it, because we can't even apply for the grant till next summer. But I would like, the board's endorsement of changing our path forward in regards to the west, the west court, which we almost have enough money to do right on hand, if we can get the volunteers. And that was the other problem I had with the basketball court is, you know, if you do the acrylic, you're gonna chase volunteers, you're competing for volunteers, but anyways, and I thought Rich might be here tonight to kind of argue his case, but he isn't. I told him that he should, but I don't know.
He was waiting, you were going to contact and see if there was even a possibility.
Yeah, well, I think it's a possibility, but I just wanted, I did say that I would call Doug and find out if Doug, I did not talk to Doug, as I pointed out to Rich and Penny, about the idea of just using the middle or using one end. The idea when Lynn, can't think of her last name, brought it up, but she wanted to put 2 pickleball courts on each end, so we would have 4 pickleball courts. And they never mentioned using the acrylic, because Gail Gallant, who was on this working group, who wasn't able to attend, but she did chime in, she talked with Rich, and Leslie a little bit about it. she was opposed to putting a pickleball court on that. When there was no thought of putting the acrylic on because it's a rough surface and you can catch your feet on it. And
Mhm.
she claimed it was dangerous, and plus I tried to use it with Leslie and the ball doesn't bounce very true, but the acrylic kind of changes that obviously, but.
How does it make it unusable for basketball?
No, I mean, you think they play basketball on a smooth wood floor, but you're gonna have two surfaces though. You know, you're gonna have
It's gonna
paving,
be uneven.
well, it's really paint.
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of fills in the little voids and smooths it up. So, no, I wouldn't think that. My bigger concern is if someone's playing pickleball and someone's shooting hoops, is someone gonna get whacked with the basketball, or is the pickleball gonna roll into where if someone's playing basketball and they're gonna trip over it, and I don't know, it just seems incompatible to me. Plus, I don't think we need 3 at this point in time. I think we should focus, but
We have 2 now.
we would have 2 after this, if we do this.
And there would be downtime when that.
There would, right, there would be, because you gotta, once you pave it, you're gonna wait 30 days. Actually, it says 28 days before you can put the acrylic on, because the pavement needs time to off gas.
Mhm.
So there would be a loss of 28 days.
Well, how long does the acrylic have to cure?
Not long, I don't think, you know, just a few days, I think, before you could, because you're just putting a few lines on it, so. But it had, as a matter of fact, there was some talk about it, if you got too much acrylic down too quick and it was hot, it would set up before you could even
Get it
get
spread.
sprayed. So anyways, I guess more to come on that when I, hear back from Doug. So it sounds like everyone's good with moving with the West Court idea. I take it. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm good with it. You need a motion or,
Sure. Just to, I guess the motion would be something like to repave and apply acrylic and game lines to the West Court.
in
Without-
accordance,
Without digging it up.
in accordance with your current plan. So
Okay.
moved.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Jeff, I.
Oh, excuse me, Jeff, aye. Sue?
Sue, aye.
I forget this. John, I forget once we have a Zoom member, you gotta do it vocally. The COLA increase for next year's budget. Jeff, you typically lead this discussion. Do you want to do that again?
Yeah. Again, just about everybody's using the 3.2%. And just to talk philosophically for a little bit, there's 2 things you can do to keep up with the cost of living for your employees. One is you get caught up with what they missed last year, or you anticipate what next year is going to be and build that in. That's the ideal. That way your folks are not losing money in the coming year. They're just getting caught up to the past year that using the alternative method. The problem with that is there's 2 issues with it. One is it's more difficult to anticipate what it's going to be in the future. But the other part of it is that when you make that transition from doing historical to future, you that year that you do it, you've got to double up. So you got to get them caught up from last year and then give them next year's. And looking at the budget this year, I'm not convinced this is the year to double up. So again, I support the 3.2%.
Who?
I agree.
And Terry, you gave us a sheet
Yep,
that ranges area for several towns
Yeah.
that were listed on the MMA website that goes from 5% to 2%, but a lot of them are around the 3.2. 3 of them are 3.2, right? 4 of them,
4 of them are 3.2,
huh?
4 of them, and
Yeah.
2 of them are 3.
Well, and actually, yeah, okay.
But we don't know what they did last year either.
No. So is that a motion, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
I'll
Sue?
second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Jeff, I.
Jeff, sorry, Jeff,
Sue, I.
John, I. We were so used to doing that for
I
a
know.
while.
We'll get back there.
Don't say that.
You're going away.
That's
No,
right.
that's right too.
That's why I said that.
Oh. Okay, last year we sent out the letter to department heads on December 19th. Terry, I know you included that in here. Yeah, or an updated one, correct?
Yep,
Or
well,
did you?
I just sent the old one. I didn't change anything.
You changed the dates and stuff, didn't you?
Nope. I
No, you didn't, okay.
Nope.
Okay, last year, we put a clause in, I thought that if someone wanted to change pay rates greater than the COLA, either up or down, because of increased duties or change in circumstances, that we asked them to come before us. And it felt like that didn't happen, and we got a couple of those dropped on us at budget time. Am I remembering that correctly?
I
or-
think so. I don't remember them coming ahead.
So I would like to if we're gonna include that in there, and I would like that they do, I'd like to emphasize that. And I think it was with the ambulance department, but I'm not positive, but it was
Yes.
just that.
It was ambulance and
Yeah.
also Betty.
Okay. I don't know how others feel about it. I mean, maybe we don't need to do that. We can just hash it over at budget time.
No, I prefer that if they're gonna do something different, that they come and talk to us about it before budget time.
Get a little bit of a heads up.
So it sounds like you agree.
Mhm.
Okay. So can we, Terry, can we emphasize that, maybe even
Right?
when you send it out? I assume you send this out by email?
Yep.
We
I
can
believe so.
maybe call people's attention to the bolded section, the red bolded section that says. And, does anybody have anything else?
No, I think last year's was pretty good. I don't see anything in it that's should be deleted
Or added?
or added. Yeah, I think.
Okay. Terry, are you proposing that we actually set meeting dates tonight for February?
No, I just wanted to you guys
Okay, no,
have this in the
okay.
back of your head,
I'm just asking a
Yes.
question.
where it's going.
Looking
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all kind of have a thought.
Yeah, I'd like to wait a little bit on that if we could, if no one else objects.
I don't,
Agree.
I don't.
Okay. So I think we're okay then. Budget committee. We probably ought to try to get that settled at least tentatively at the next meeting, when we're gonna meet with them. Cause that's tough. That's a big group to get everyone together and,
But that can't happen till you come back. Unless you,
well, it could,
well,
but I would like to participate, but
I mean, you'll be back around the same time. Ish.
I should be back around no later than say April 5th or 6th.
Oh, okay, so that's
I don't
perfect.
wanna do it on April 7th.
Well, it's fine. You'll have been on vacation.
Okay, are we good on this?
So Terry, you're gonna update the dates and fire this out.
Yep,
Okay,
Thank you.
monthly reports, Terry, again, great job.
yeah.
Anybody have any questions on any of the monthly reports? I have a comment, I think on the fire department report, the fact that they've been waiting on Ed Alley for a year now,
I called them again today.
you did?
Yeah, I'm telling them there's 2 lights out. They need to.
I think we either gotta ask him to do it, or we're gonna have to look for someone else, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I know I thought there were 3 lights out now.
Oh,
Um,
maybe.
and, you know, I mean, I think at some point that affects the safety out there. I know Ed's busy and he's a great guy, and I was the one that suggested years ago we hire him because he works at the school in both SAT 5 and 50.
So,
Still does?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, ours is 13 now. Well, they have a big game tonight, don't they?
yeah, Connie.
Yeah, so, Terry, can you just kind of nudge him again if you don't hear from, I didn't know you called him today, but maybe in a couple of days. If
Yep.
you don't hear from him, say, geez, yeah, we really gotta. And I know Dave is desperately waiting for those plugs and stuff, so patiently. Okay, anything else?
Yeah.
We have adjustment. Yeah. Don Pressero's permission to use the stump dump road expires at the end of the month. And he would like to extend that, if there's no objection. He's actually been quite helpful. He's been lending his time and equipment to help repair some of the low spots. Admittedly, he said there is a self-interest in, I'm not gonna use the road, but it's everybody.
Right.
So if there's no objection, would someone like to make a motion to extend it for, I don't know, a year or, well, how much, do you know how long it was the first time?
It was, yeah, I have it right here somewhere. It was from May to May 9th until December 31st.
Cause I think we want to get on an annual year basis, so. If
So-
anyone would object for a year,
No. I don't know that.
Jeff, you go with that?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that we allow Don Prothero to continue to use the stump road to access his property for 1 year.
Okay, and his contractor did turn in a certificate of insurance, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, he jumps through the right hoops and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, further discussion? Jeff,
Jeff, I.
Sue,
Sue, I.
John, I. And then we wanted to talk about executive session, so let's move to the owl. So, I think everybody knows when we came in, Avery came down here last night, we discovered that the owl, which sits over there, was sitting on the table, not attached to the bracket, and it didn't work, and it's obviously damaged. You can see little glass particles floating around in the top lens. Terry checked with our insurance. We have $1,000 deductible, as she suspected last night, so I guess the question is, do we want to continue with it? Do we want to, I mean, a lot of the committees use it. Do we want to continue to try to borrow the one from the library for just the select board meetings? What are you guys thinking? I mean, I think it's been a nice feature, but it's about $1,000, right?
A little over that now.
Yeah, 1,049.
Yeah.
And that was the latest one? This one?
It's either this one or the
They are,
next one.
I was gonna say, I think they only had one listed on there.
Yeah,
Um,
I think ours is 1, this is 3, right? Ours was 1.
but we were also starting to have other issues with it
We
too
were.
before that.
It was getting hard to connect.
I'd also like to spend a little time and try to find out what happened to it. Someone picked it up. It didn't fall on the table.
Mhm.
So somebody at a minimum picked it up and put it on the table.
Yeah, I can't see us not having it operable in the town office. I think we've come to rely on it, and I think we need to replace it. But I agree. I would like to find out at least what happened to it.
Well, I think if we're gonna do that, we need to ask Terry to try to conduct a little investigation with a small eye. If people, is that agreeable? I mean, that seems to
Yes.
me sense for the person to do it, but.
Yep.
Not that you have to be the FBI or anything, I'm just saying.
Do you remember how long those extended warranties went for and how much they were?
No, I didn't.
I mean, I know they
But it
wouldn't, they
have
wouldn't have
that.
covered that, but like when it's started to not work right.
Right.
And things like that.
Yeah, if we had replaced it then.
Right. But I mean, if they're, if it's $150 for 3 years or something, it might be worth it.
Yeah, I can look into that.
Okay, so, Jeff, you wanna make that a motion to replace it?
Yeah, I make a motion that we replace our out.
That sounds funny. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Jeff,
Jeff, I.
Sue,
Sue, I.
John, I just hate spending the money.
I know, that's a lot of money.
Okay, correspondence, donation, sorry. Terry, you wanna go over these?
Yep. Find them.
And we have a new one on the table too, right?
Yep, trying to find my background. Well, the first donation we have is $100 from Leslie and John Spear towards the land purchase. Do you want to go one at a time, or do you want to just?
I think we can just accept them all at once.
Okay. The second one is, a donation from Paul and Sally DiMaggio towards the land purchase of $519.38.
Very generous.
McLuhan's Wharf donated $2,500 towards the land purchase.
Oh,
Yeah, sizable.
Brad and Charlotte Choi, is that how you say his name?
Wait,
Choi donated $250 to the land purchase. Richard Waldron donated $100 toward the ambulance service, and the People's Methodist Church donated $170 towards the ambulance service.
Okay, is there a motion to accept, all of these, donations?
I'll make a motion that we accept all of the listed donations.
Is there a second?
second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor? Jeff,
Jeff, I.
Sue, I.
John, I. Correspondence, we received a copy of the Knox County budget, email from Andrew Hart. Jeff, do you want to take some time and talk about this? You don't have to if you don't want.
Yeah, I will briefly. Again, it's not locked in yet. It'll be finalized Thursday, hopefully. There currently is a difference between what the budget committee is recommending and what the commissioners have recommended. We're talking $50,000 difference between the two. I think that those will be resolved on Thursday. If folks have not looked at it, it's available online. It is a significant increase in almost all areas over previous. They were able to work it to be less than the 21% that it started out to be, 21% increase. But in almost all cases, it's directly related to personnel. And again, it's the crisis that the KRCC 911 dispatch center went through, and the almost crisis for our other first responders that we're seeing, corrections and sheriff's department, plus some EMA issues as well. So this is the first year that I have not seen significant pushback from several members of the budget committee. There were initially there was pushback at the meetings, but then the reality of what the money was going for kind of set in, and plus a lot of towns have sent letters to the budget committee and the commissioners supporting things that initially the budget committee was leaning against. So this is kind of the first year that I have seen the budget committee be as accepting of a very significant increase in the county's budget.
Okay, thank you. Is there any, I'll confess, I didn't look at it. Is there any sense of what the increase to South Thomaston would be? I know they're not equal. The 21% doesn't mean that we're gonna get a 21% increase. Could be
Right.
28 or could be. And I didn't look at it. But
Yeah, I've got a copy of it here.
well, that's all right. If you can't put your,
No, I got it. I just need to put a line under it. So for the county tax, last year it was $358,000. This year it's going to be $440,000. So $80,000 increase.
wow.
And for the dispatch fee, last year
That's to the town.
that's to the town, correct? Last year's dispatch fee was $55,000. This year it's $63,000. So an $8,000 increase. So and part of that too is that they are showing our state valuation is going from 341 million to 428 million. So there's a significant increase in our state valuation in these figures.
And so I assume that's not tracking across all towns and that valuation.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. Not a good
mean,
way to start our budget.
The good thing is though that it's a number we have firm for our next year's budget. So a number known is better than a number anticipated, I guess.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you for serving on the budget committee.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
Is there anything else besides the executive session?
I do have one thing I'd like to add. This Saturday, the 16th, the Lions Club, I think members of the Historical Society, and the American Legion post out of St. George will be laying wreaths at the village cemetery at noon on Saturday. Anybody who wants to come and help is welcome to help. We've got about 130 wreaths to lay on our veterans plots. And we were able to make our goal of 130 partially because the post out of St. George got a lot more than what they needed. And so they ended up giving us about 25, 30 of their wreaths to put us over the top. So.
Okay, great. What time is that again?
High noon on Saturday.
This Saturday?
This coming Saturday, yep.
Okay. And Terry, what do we have scheduled for meetings? Nothing, right?
Nothing.
So we gotta get something on the calendar. Oh, I had it, sorry. So we would typically meet on the 9th, and unfortunately I can't. Just the 16th not good for you, I take it?
Uh, the 16th of January?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay with me.
oh, it is?
Yeah.
Do we, all right, and what about the 30th?
Not good for me. I leave on the 19th and get back on the 30th.
Okay. What about the 6th of February?
I can do the 6th of February.
Okay, Sue?
Those dates are fine with me.
So Terry, they work for you?
Sure.
Well, you might have something, you might have. All right, so January 16th. No one feels we need to meet before that? Is there anything pressing? I suppose we could always call a special. God, can't believe we're scheduling February.
Yeah.
Yeah, either the 2nd or the 9th doesn't work for me, so. But if we do need a special meeting, I could probably do something like the 11th, so. That doesn't buy much time, does it? Okay, well, we'll have to work it best we can. All right, I think that's it. We did get a comment from Walter on the, discussion regarding the use of the community room. And he pointed out that the Democratic caucus has been held in this room for years, and he felt that that should be exempt as a political meeting, and I think we already dealt
I
with
think
that.
we should talk about that, yeah.
Agree.
So is there a motion to enter executive session to discuss a personnel matter under whatever provision it is?
Jeff has that.
456C. Is that right? C for personnel matter.
Yes.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second that.
further discussion? All those in favor? Okay,
Sue,
Jeff,
aye.
all right.
Penny, do you want me to bring this down to you in the morning?
Sure, or, I don't need it till Sunday, I can come Thursday and pick it up. But,
Okay, or I can swing it down by when I go to the post office?
okay,
Okay,
I have a box there in the corner.
okay,
Is the resiliency committee meeting Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah,
That's when I have to have it there. Yep.
two? Yeah. I missed, him on that, but I went down and measured that sidewalk in Central Florida.
Oh, how wide is it? 6 feet?
That's out of town.
That took me as wide as the steps.
Yeah, I think it's